Hey folks, thanks for stopping by the farm again. I'm Jim, and I want to talk to you today about having enough worm castings for the springtime when you need them. Now, yeah, it's the end of November, and my farm garden has already been put to bed. They're all done, so now it's time to get serious about worms because I want to make sure come springtime that I've got enough worm castings to take care of my plants. Now, whether you're doing worms, chances are if you're watching this video, you're doing worms, okay? Now, whether you're doing them for gardens, worm castings for your gardens, seed starting mix, your house plants, right now, believe it or not, even though we're going into wintertime here, worm castings are a great addition to keep those plants healthy throughout the winter. But what I want to make sure of is that I've got enough worm castings come springtime. So what I want to do today is, well, let me ask you a question. If you had to start your farm, your gardens, your house plants, your seed starting mix right now, would you have enough worm castings? Well, I want to make sure you have enough come springtime. So let's talk about a couple of things. How much you're going to need. Now, if you're just doing your house plants and all that, you're probably not going to need a whole lot. Um, when are you going to need them? Now, here in New England, I'm going to need them, as soon as February for things like my hot peppers, things that take a long time in the greenhouse to get up to snuff. My seed starting mix, I'm going to need it for that, for all of that, all the way through from February through April even. But come May, I'm going to need a lot to side dress all of my plants that I've got out there in the fields. Um, so how are you going to make them? What are you going to do now that's going to ensure that you're going to have enough come springtime? Well, I'm going to show you how I do it. Now, here in New England, probably a little bit in the USA, probably a little bit different from, if you're down under. But this is how I do it. I want to show you how I do it. Hopefully you can get some hints and tips and just some advice, some helpful advice, so that you'll have enough come springtime to give your plants all that black gold that they need. Stay tuned. Let's get to it. Okay, so how long does it take to make worm castings? Well, I wish I had an answer to that, a more specific answer. And the reason why I don't is because it involves a lot of different factors. Number one, how many worms you got? Now, if you're starting off with, a couple of cups of worms, uh, that can take a while. You got a lot of worms, it's going to take a lot less of a while. Basically, the more worms, the better. Um, Now, again, if you're just doing like your house plants and that kind of thing, well, you can get away with, one bin and do it that way and not have a lot of worms and still make plenty of castings. But the more the merrier. One of the biggest things that I found as far as how long it takes to make casting is the bedding type. Now, you can use your shredded cardboard, shredded paper, great bedding, but it takes a long time for the bacteria to get into there enough to where the worms can actually use it and thus make castings. Um, it is the star of the show when it comes to composting. Now, for me, composting things that I throw away, that's number one. That's what I do, whether it be cardboard or kitchen scraps or whatever. But this kind of thing is going to take a while to break down. Leaves, okay? You get the leaves out of your backyard or you grab them from other people's yards when they bag them up and make my job a whole lot easier. They make a great bedding. They're natural. They make the best castings in my mind. In my mind, leaves make the best castings. They really, really do. That's what composting worms are eating out there. Make it a little bit, they are a slow one. Make it a little bit faster. Take those leaves and grind them up. You don't have to do it to a powder, but just grind them up as best you can. I use everything from a wood chipper to a weed whacker and a barrel to knock them down, all the way down to using a food processor to really grind them up. These actually almost turn into a fast bedding. Wood chips, they're They're pretty easy to get. If you got an arborist in the area that can drop them off, or you can go pick them up. I pick them up from our local transfer station, where all the arborists, they dump them out all year long. They basically turn into compost out there. They're woody. They take a while. The worms love it. It's what, again, it's what they get into. But they are big, they're thick, and they're going to last a while. And finally, something that I try to put in all of my worm beds is a pre-composted thing that I make up. And it basically contains everything you've previously seen here. I let it compost down. I have it in a, well, I got a video on that. You can go look at it, how I turn it, whether it be in a regular 3x3x3 compost bin or one of my tumbler. This has cardboard, it has leaves, it has wood chips, it has everything in it. And it breaks down really quick. Now, the key thing about this stuff here, it's filled with the biology. The biology is really what the worms are after, the bacteria, all the bugs that are in there. That's what the worms are looking for. Um, that's what they're going to eat, and that's what they're making the castings from. Naturally, the more variety you put into your worms, the more variety in nutrients and bacteria that you're going to get out of your castings. The other thing that's going to be a big factor is the amount of food and the frequency that you feed them. Now, I'm retired. I've got all the time in the world. I can spend the time on my worms, and I usually feed a minimum of once a week. Okay. I know that they're ready for more food when I go in there at the end of that 7-day period and there's nothing there, and I can add more. And what that does, not only does it keep my worm bins clean, there's no rotting food or anything like that in there, but it allows me to go ahead and know, okay, they're ready to go. Now, if I go in and I check them in 4 days and it's gone, I know to feed a little bit more. The more food that you're feeding them, feeding the bacteria, the more castings you're going to get. Now, what kind of foods? There's slow food that can take a long time for the worms to break down, and there's fast food. And I've got a video on that. Go back and take a look at that where I pretty much go into depth on slow and fast foods, but it's pretty much like this. If you're taking your leftover salad greens and all that, that's a fast food. But it can be a slow food too. Root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, beets, that kind of thing. They're slow food. The worms love it. They will eat it, but they're a little bit slower to break down. And if your goal is to make the quickest castings as possible, worm chow is great. If you can get a hold of sifted cow manure, horse manure, sheep manure, rabbit manure, any of your manures, as long as they've been somewhat composted, those are great fast foods as well. Full of bacteria already. The bacteria has already gone to work on it. The worms can already go to work on that. One of the other little helpful hints that I found is as you're getting along with your worm bin, as it's going down the road to breaking down to castings, if you notice it's a little bit slower, add a little less of your carbon type beddings. Let them rework that other stuff. They'll break it down. You know, your worm bin is 4 months old or 3 months old and it's almost castings, and you go and dump a big bucket of cardboard into it, well, you just set it back quite a ways. Those castings are not going to be completely ready by the time you're going to go ahead and need to use them. Now, we talk about vermicompost and vermicast. A good way to kind of do it would be, this would be vermicompost. It's not totally broken down. There are materials still left inside. It's still great to use. This would be vermicast. These would be your pure worm castings. Now, I know myself, I don't really need pure worm castings for my garden because anything in there that's a little bit still chunky, it's still going to break down. It's still going to supply what the plants need and what the worms that are already in that soil need too, to continue their lives living on. So that's a little bit about the bedding. It's a little bit about the food, a little bit about how you can speed up your worm castings so that you have enough of this black gold for your garden in the springtime. So if you have any questions on anything I talked about here today, feel free to leave comments down below. I'd be happy to help you out. Maybe if there's something I didn't quite explain perfectly, I can kind of get together with you and talk about it a little bit further. I hope you got something out of this video. Really, folks, a lot of this is trial and error, and you're going to see what helps. But if you follow the little bits of tips and tricks and what I just showed you, you'll have worm castings ready for your gardens, for your farm, for your house plants in the springtime. It's been great talking to you all. Hope to talk to you again soon. Thank you for watching.